What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Savage.
Welcome to Theory for Theory, a series on the channel where another One Piece YouTuber and I go head-to-head with their theories, my theories, and community theories. My guest this week was The Hidden Island. We talked about a lot of things, Hiyori being the big tragedy of Wano, future parallels and inversions, the next Straw Hat, and Joy Boy not being human. Hope you enjoy.
What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Welcome, everybody. Here we are. We're back with another edition of Theory for Theory. All right. We're joined today with our special guest, The Hidden Island.
Hello, everybody. Randy, thank you for having me. I am so happy to be on here. I got to be honest. I've been loving all the Theory for Theories up until now. So I've been itching to get on here and share some thoughts and talk to you about One Piece. So yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. It is an honor.
Don't worry about it, man. Yeah. For today, you're not as hidden, so don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see a lot of people asking if this is a face reveal. It is not a face reveal, guys. I do streams, so I'm not that hidden, but we're working on it. We're getting out there a little bit, little by little.
Yep. I see we have Parvision in the chat.
What's up, Parvision?
Just modded him.
That's my dude.
Yep. So now you can see when he pops out. No, man. I've been wanting to do this for a while. We both have. We've talked about it, and now sort of felt like the right time for me, especially considering one of the the videos that I liked of yours was the Yamato versus Momonosuke video. Mm-hmm. And I think that conversation is pretty relevant now, especially after 1047 and even the color spread that we got and all of that. Most people in the chat, are pretty well aware of how I feel the crew is going to end up working out, but
right.
Let's see. Now, I watched your video, but would you say that you're anti-Yamato joining?
No, I'm not. I'm not actually. I'm not against. I'm not anti-Yamato. I don't have an agenda with that. Right. I personally think the argument is stronger in favor of Momonosuke. But I gotta say, I actually have this. I have this in my notes here. I wanted to bring this up because I know that we share similar opinions on who's going to join the crew. I know that you believe that Momo and Tama are going to be joining, and that's an idea that I'm also a fan of. Personally, I am leaning towards just the Momo half of it, but I did want to revise my theory live on stream with you because I do think as of recent chapters, I feel like it's in need of a slight revision.
Okay.
I will say though, with chapter 1047. We did get some stuff in the beginning of the chapter when we had the flashback with Momo talking to Toki and talking to Kinemon. It seems like Momo is being forced into this position of leadership. He's not ready for it, and the whole story up until now with Momo has been him growing into this role. So while I do think he, by the end of this arc, he will have had this coming of age moment where he's, kind of filling in the shoes of his father. I don't think he's quite ready yet. I think this flashback at the beginning of the chapter kind of pointed us in that direction, showing us that Momo still has a lot of growing to do. And because of his relationship with Yamato in recent chapters, I'm sort of leaning a little bit more towards maybe both of them join. That's what I'm thinking now. I feel like Momo and Yamato are kind of like a package deal at this point. And I talked about it in my video, how they're kind of both sides of the Odin coin, like the proverbial Odin coin, if we'll say. And I think that the longer this goes on and we see them together, the more I feel like maybe we can't have one without the other. So it might be like Momo and his head retainer Yamato joining the crew, together, kind of like how Odin had Izo and Neko and Inu tagging along on Whitebeard's ship. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm still not totally convinced on Yamato yet, but I'm getting there. It is slowly moving in the direction where, like, okay, I can see both of them joining. I don't know if it's only Yamato though.
Yeah, I've heard the the retainer idea, for a while, or even people comparing to Inu and Neko, like that sort of a situation. We could, it really could. It could go down in a number of ways, and I think that in any other arc there would be an argument where it's like, no, there can only be one.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's an element to Wano where the structure is a little bit different, and I feel like if things go bad in any sort of way, that it may just be a situation where everybody that is with the Straw Hats at that particular time leaves with the Straw Hats. So, there is the argument where if things go wrong, everybody's jumping on the ship. So, we end up getting, not necessarily official crew members exactly, but Yamato, Momonosuke, Tama, Carrot, whoever's with them at that particular time, all get onto the Sunny and go to whatever the next island is going to be, which I still believe is probably going to be a breather and, an in-between, let's heal, we got to kind of sort of collect ourselves. That's why I think maybe we're going to, I think we're going to go to Sphinx Island, personally.
Okay. That's interesting. Because I've always pegged, like, the short breather arc as being Elbaf. Because I don't know how we make Elbaf into another massive arc, kind of like Wano, especially considering that, we had the whole issue with Big Mom in Elbaf, but that's kind of getting resolved here, so I feel like we might not have a major conflict to tackle on Elbaf. So it's like, it's interesting that you say Sphinx Island, just because that I haven't thought of that much as being like a destination that they'd have to go to. But it does raise a point.
I want Luffy to have a moment with Ace's grave. And especially if all of this Sabo stuff is going to come to a head in any sort of way, whether he's captured or not. I mean, if he is, then you have this moment where it's like, okay, I'm not going to let this happen to another brother. Luffy is having that moment at the gravesite and can kind of resolve himself, set his convictions, and then we have this powerful moment and we move forward. I've wanted for years an arc where Zoro just sort of takes over for a bit. He's packed up, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I truly believe that Luffy is going to be packed up at the end of this as well. And now it seems like Sanji is going to be the person who's going to he's going to have to run point when things go bad here. And that potentially opens us up for, a nothing happened parallel. But
interesting.
But now Sanji is the Zoro in this particular instance, because he's the only one that can do anything because I still feel like there needs to be another element to Wano. Luffy defeats Kaido, something happens, potentially Vegapunk is that new element on the government ships. I don't think we get out of this situation without Vegapunk. He started this super saga, all the way back in Punk Hazard. There was so much, so much relevance there. The artificial fruit, Momonosuke. Now with Mads and Sanji, Frankie during 3D2Y, SSG. and now with Luffy's fruit, right? Yeah. The gigantification, all of that. I know that you're just like myself have been a big Luffy's going to turn into a giant guy. I've been saying that's at his lobby. I know you had a video on it. Like, we got it. We got it.
We got it. We did. I screamed when I saw that panel. I lost my mind. I was like, there's no way. When he went into the sky, the last thing I thought was going to happen was that he'd drop out as a giant. But it worked perfectly, right? Because at the end of Skypiea, we had that moment with him, like the big giant shadow in the sky, where Nolan was looking up, the other Mont Blanc. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but he looks up into the sky. Yeah, Cricket. There you go. He looks up into the sky. He sees the big shadow of Luffy's like giant shadow, and to me, I thought that was like reflected perfectly where Luffy is now an actual giant against the clouds in the night sky, and it was like so perfect. That's such a perfect moment. I was glad we hit the nail on the head with that. Because,
well, I think we're going to get that parallel as well now with if the people of Wano look up. I think that they're going to see the sun god in the sky.
Yeah,
they're going to see Luffy, and we're going to get a some sort of a parallel of that, especially if he adds some fire to this fist.
It'll be interesting, right? Because like we're kind of going to get a reverse silhouette situation where originally when Luffy was like in the sky, it was like a shadow on a bright sky.
Yeah, projection.
You know, projection. But now we get a bright, like glowing Luffy on a dark sky, where it's like kind of like it's visually it's like such a perfect representation of how much he's grown as a character. I would love that. I would love for that to happen, and then at the end of the arc, the storm clouds part, and you have this sort of like, you know, because you always have that thing with the Yonko when they clash, the sky splits. So I want something like that kind of to play into the end of the fight and how this whole thing ends, like imagery wise. Yeah.
I mean, the imagery in my mind is that the lanterns are going to go up into the sky. Luffy's going to be knocking Kaido down. The sky is going to open up and allow the dawn and the sunlight to come through and glisten off of Luffy as they're looking up, and they're not going to understand what they're seeing. And, you know, I mean, that's like Oda imagery in my mind.
Dude. I love it. I love it.
Let me hit some of these chats. A lot of people are complimenting the drip there, my guy.
I had to bring my best to the stream. You know, I got invited onto a stream I'm very much a fan of, and I'm like, this came in about a week ago, and I was like, you know, I have to bust out the gum card.
Oh, yo, you got the swirls. You got the Oda signature swirls right there.
Yeah,
the Sanji eyebrow swirls.
Thank you guys for hyping up the drip. I knew someone would say something about it. I was hoping.
Oh yeah, the drip is certified. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable in a t-shirt. You know, and it's like, you know, I put this t-shirt on to match your 80s aesthetic, right? So, so I'm sporting the Tech Noir, the club from Terminator right now.
I love it. I'm a big movie guy myself. You know, I know you've mentioned before you work in film. Yeah. That's so cool to me because when I went to college, I was also a film guy, and I just appreciate that. I also saw the Terminator head that you had on your shelf there. It's great.
Oh yeah, for the people, yeah, that lights up too. The eyes light up. I love it.
That's awesome.
My guy Milo, big super chat said, wait. How is the Hidden Island going to come in here with that certified drip and we don't discuss this live? Well, we did, Milo. We had to, like, trust me. You know, we wanted to get through, you know, get a little, you know, starter, little breather, settle into, you know, the theory for theory here. And then, of course, I mean, come on, of course I'm going to talk about the drip. Come on. Samlock, member for 7 months, said Kinemon joins as Momo's retainer. Thoughts? Personally, I don't think. I think Kinemon either dies or he stays in Wano. He's not. He's not coming with them.
I'm on board with you there. I feel like Kinemon. I actually wanted to talk about this today. I have 3 characters in mind with death flags on them.
Okay.
Kinemon is a big one. I know he died already, technically, but
he's still dead in my heart.
Yeah, I think he's on the way out this arc, but we'll talk about that. So
yeah, well, I mean, anime onlys think he just went.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw 10-15.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, amazing episode, but God, the Kinemon moment is just like, this is extremely well done, but it would be even more poignant if the man died here.
If the man died, yeah. That's what I was thinking the whole time I was watching the episode. I was feeling like, man, this moment I would be bawling right now if he was actually dead. But like knowing what happens later, and then the whole thing with like, oh, Law didn't stitch me up properly. I'm like, oof, that's gonna really hurt for the anime watchers in like 6 months. Like, oh man, I'm so sorry, guys.
Yeah. My guy Maxo said, I love Momo and Yamato for crew. But how we feeling about Hiyori Shogun? I have my own thoughts on this. What are your thoughts?
Hiyori Shogun, I think is, I think it's on the table. I feel like if there's anyone that's going to kind of run the show while Momo, like let's say Momo does join and he's away, if there's anyone that would run the show in the meantime, it would be Hiyori. But I guess this is a spoiler for the discussion. I also think Hiyori has death flags on her right now, and we'll talk about that. I don't think Hiyori's going to make it this arc.
Oh, that's a flaming hot Cheeto take.
Whoa! We'll get into the details of it. I do feel fairly strongly about this, and let's say she does make it, then yeah, sure. But
I have never heard that in my life.
Yeah, it's a well.
All right.
I don't want to derail and get into it right now, but I will say this: who else dying in the story would propel Momo into action? Who would get him to grow up faster than anyone else if they were to die right now? Who's an important character that has been set up as like a major influence for all the scabbards and the raid and Momo? For them to die and for them to be on Onigashima right now, a little bit sus, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So, yeah.
Got it. Do you see it? All right. We are definitely
$100 super chat coming. That's awesome. Michael Lacoste, the GOAT.
Michael Lacoste, Third Eye Guy, said, "Happy to finally have an opportunity to chat big like this for you. Honestly, I can't thank you for starting this channel enough. Found you about the time started back up with One Piece after a big break, and I've never felt more involved and invigorated as a fan of One Piece." Yeah. Michael,
that's awesome.
Michael, my guy, he's in here, he's over with us on Twitch too. My dude, man.
Thank you, bro.
I love this community. I love you guys. Like seriously, like this is, it's the same for me. I've never felt more involved and invigorated. And I'm going back even to Arlong Park and doing the Kaizu fan subs and all of that stuff like now, but being able to like actively chat with everybody in real time with these streams. I'm glad everybody, when I started doing videos, you guys pushed me to do this, because this is exactly what I wanted to get out of creating a YouTube channel. I thought I was getting it from just answering every comment.
Yeah.
But being able to talk with everybody like this is just, oh man. It's
absolutely
crazy.
I wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for just how like fun it is to engage with the community constantly, because otherwise it would just be me talking into a microphone on video, like, I'm basically talking to a wall.
Oh, I say it all the time. I'm just a guy talking to myself if there's nobody in the chat here.
Exactly. Yeah, you guys make it worth it. Each of my videos especially take a very long amount of time to get done and make them look nice and like do them well. And there's times where I'm like demotivated to like work on something because it's like, man, this is a grind. But every time I put a video out and I see the comments you guys leave and I come on streams like this and I get to talk to YouTubers that, just months ago I was just a viewer. So for me, it's like wow, and it really like revitalizes my motivation, and it makes me feel like very happy to find that appreciation in you guys. You guys are awesome, and Randy, you're awesome. So yeah, I appreciate that super chat. That's really I agree. I'm with you.
And to Sites 318, member for 7 months. Wow, 7 months. That's crazy. Appreciate you as well. I want to shout out Parvision because he did a super chat earlier. He said, "Smiling ear to ear already, just from watching. Excited to see what epic conversations come out from this clash." And I have to shout out that he did a $10.47 donation for which is hilarious.
Creative.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because here we are talking about 1,047 chapters of One Piece. Let's see. And then Boss D Jinbei, what do you guys think about the flame smoke on Zoro's swords? Does it relate to the flames he hit Ryuma with? It's unique to him. I think we're going to have to wait for the anime to see exactly how they color it, if we're able to draw a comparison there. And let's see.
What's happening with Zoro right now is interesting, though, because it parallels kind of what happened with Luffy like 4 chapters ago. So I don't know. I don't think Zoro's going to wake up and become the sword god or anything, but I do think there's some setup for Zoro right now that's happening in the background. So
yeah. Flondymon91 said the Hidden Island theory on second time skip. So that's something that we'll have to go with.
Yeah, everyone likes to ask me about that one. It's one of my least favorite theories. I'll just put that out there. But it's like not like as in I don't like talking about it. Just like I do feel like it's the loosest one. So I mean, we can talk about it, but
I mean, we don't have to spend too much time on it. You believe that there's going to be a second time skip. I believe that there's going to be a second time skip. I had never watched the video, but it was the one that I picked to watch before starting the stream, so I did just watch it. Mm-hmm. And so I know you think that there's going to be a year time skip. And I liked what you had at the end of the video where you were talking about the significance of years and all of that. And I think my favorite part was that Luffy would be 20 years old if there was a year time skip, and that, you didn't mention it in there, but there's actually so much significance. You related it to Ace being 20, but I'm like, there's so much in the story that is like just 20 years. 20 years. Luffy starts his journey 20 years after the execution. There's like, that's an interesting thing. I personally think if we're going to get a second time skip, which I think we need for the Straw Hats to just get stronger, to learn hockey, to just like train up a little bit, I think 3 months max, but like really just sort of focused in training and then move forward if we're going to do anything like that.
Sure. It's a good point, though. I mean, the 20 years thing is very prevalent in the story. I guess I should give it more credit than I currently do. I do want a second time skip. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition. I do want it though, because I feel like we just need that last jump from Luffy now to the Pirate King Luffy, and I feel like we can do it organically over time, but a jump where he basically refines himself for the final arc in the story, where we get the final like version of Luffy we're going to get in One Piece. I feel like it would be better to skip the in between and kind of get to the last arc, because there's so much that Oda has to cover that I can't see like a big training arc taking. That's why I feel like a time skip is necessary there. But
I feel like there's a time skip that's necessary, but at the same time, I also, like, while we're talking about this, I'm like, this Hiyori stuff, I feel like we need to get a little more into this, but I do want to talk about this since we're on it. After Wano, I feel like the gas pedal is going to be on in a very extreme way. Yeah. And everything that's happening with the Reverie is going to put some sort of a time limit on things, in the same way that Ace's execution put a time limit on Luffy reuniting with the crew, right? Now, I think that there's going to be a significant need to heal after this, especially for Luffy, especially for Zoro, and more than anything, that might even be where our time skip comes. Something short, something small, but with enough time where it's reasonable that other characters could learn something in that time. Even if it's from, say, Marco, if he doesn't die, which, he's one of my picks.
That's a good pick.
Just because of the Phoenix lore. I feel like if Oda's going to have a Phoenix in the story, at some point they need to, like, immolate and then be reborn. So it would be like sort of a half death. And if it doesn't happen here, I think, if Marco plays a role in the final war, I just don't think we're going to go through all of One Piece and not have a Phoenix rise from the ashes.
It would play into the awakening thing that we're getting right now, too, with zones, where, like, awakenings kind of bring out their true properties. Like, the stuff with the Nika fruit bringing out the main qualities of Joy Boy. We haven't seen what Kaido's awakening looks like, unless he's already awakened. We don't know.
I think he's already awakened. I think... Yeah, I think that, just everything that he's doing in his dragon form and everything has to be awakened feats.
It does seem like the upper limit for him. It does seem like, you know, it's
the
a
man
lot of power.
the man moved an entire island.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's a standard ability.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I could see the thing with Marco happening. It would make a lot of sense for, you know, in the most basic use of his zone fruit, it would allow him to heal. It would allow me to use his flames to, you know, heal his own injuries or heal other people's injuries. But the rebirth thing is like the main thing that Phoenixes are known for, and we haven't seen that out of him. And an awakening would probably make the most sense for how that would happen. And he's the first commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. I mean, if there's anyone that can awaken a Zoan fruit, it would have to be someone at that level. So,
yeah, and it's another mythical. So, yeah. I think, you know, and it also helps the idea that I have that we're going to Sphinx Island, because it's like if Marco is reborn and he comes back as either an egg or a child or something, and then suddenly now it's all right, we got to protect this, you know, egg baby Marco, or, you know, whatever, and that's all tying into just Phoenix mythology. If anybody's asking why I'm like pulling an egg or a baby out of a hat here,
like the egg on Roger's ship.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we already know that, you know, that's not Marco, but
right.
You know, but I think it would be a fun fact if you know, if Marco was able to do this multiple times. Like, we go to the Rocks flashback and we find out that Marco was a grown man during the God Valley incident. And then, you know, he immolated there. And then, you know, when we see him during the Odin flashback, that's him, like, naturally aging back to that age. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the kind of, like, fun stuff that I'd like to get into. But, you know, we get to Sphinx Island. They're trying to drop Marco off, maybe in the care of another, you know, Whitebeard commander or anything like that. Everybody's still hurt, and then like Weevil shows up, right? I want to kill Marco. It's like, well, Marco's a baby, he's an egg or whatever, and then that gives an opportunity for ideally Zoro, but probably not, to like kind of have his own fight without Luffy involved.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I feel like Zoro, I think he's getting his comeuppance in the story, you know, relatively soon. I don't know if it's going to happen with the remainder of this arc. He did have an amazing fight with King, but he's definitely going to have some focus, like some hard focus at some point soon, because we're getting towards the end and we're building up to that confrontation with Mihawk. So I 100% think Zoro needs that. I will play devil's advocate with you for a second, though. The only thing about the egg and like the rebirth thing that makes me feel like Oda might not touch on that idea is because of the Baron Tamago stuff. I feel like we've already touched on the idea of like a bird fruit that allows someone to be reborn through an egg and all that stuff. Baron Tamago pretty much did that over the course of his fight with Pedro. So
then maybe that's even more of a reason why it could be done, because it's either way, because it's like, well, that was foreshadowing.
That was foreshadowing, classic Oda. I mean, look, when it comes to
someone will
that,
say it. Someone will say it.
Yeah, because like, why not, right? Like, it could be a reason for him to do it because he's shown that he's open to the idea of that concept. So maybe that's proof rather than evidence against it. But yeah, I like the idea. I think it would be fun. I could see Marco, biting at this arc, but we'll have to see where it goes, because right now I think he's kind of on the back line, just chilling out while Luffy's doing all the fighting.
Well, that's my problem with Marco being in Wano in the first place, is like, here's this dude, right, that should have a bigger stake. You know, he's got skin in this game. He knew Odin. He knew Odin. So, and Whitebeard specifically told him to make sure that he protects Luffy. And so he shows up to kind of, follow up on that, right? But then he's just playing, he's just
support.
He's just support. He's assists. He's
moral support half the time. Like,
he's on the back lines. He's on the back where he helped Zoro get up top. He healed the Ice Oni virus. Whoop-de-doo. And then he held off two commanders. That was that was the best feat that he had, other than holding back Big Mom. But that's all plot convenience. That's all Oda as a writer saying, okay, I can't put Big Mom over here yet, so I'm just gonna have Marco hold her at bay. So he's using Marco as a plot device to just hold everybody back. What is Marco's actual purpose and point for being in the arc to begin with, other than, wow, it's so cool, Marco's here? So I feel like Marco has to do something.
He's gonna have to do more than just kind of cheerlead right now, because when we had him in Marineford, which was the only other arc he's been prominent in, he saved Luffy's life multiple times. He was like instrumental in basically Luffy escaping, getting out of there. And at that point in the story, he wasn't even that well established of a character. But I feel like at that point, he was more important to the events of that arc than he is now. Even though now he's like a much more in-depth character and has had his screen time to set him up. So I think Oda has plans for him. I agree with you. I don't know if him curing the Ice Oni thing is going to be his big like accomplishment for the arc.
Oh man, everything would have gone to hell if he didn't heal the Ice Onis.
Yeah, because it's kind of what Chopper's at. Where Chopper's at right now too. Like that's his like big thing for this arc.
Yeah, well, I don't mind it being Chopper's thing, right? Because Chopper's doctrine.
He's doctrine. Yeah.
That's whole cake.
Yes.
Sanji's cooking. Like Chopper's doctrine, all right.
Chopper's doctrine. This town ain't big enough for 2 doctors, you know.
Well, we got 3. Right?
We got three. Yeah, so like
3.
You know, if Chopper's thing is like doing the healing and fixing everybody up, then Marco's accomplishment is even less. If he, if that's the only thing he has on his record is helping with the Ice Oni stuff, when Chopper's the one who made the antibodies anyway. So that I'm with you. I think he needs to do more. He has to have some dramatic moment.
Yeah, the best thing in my mind would have been if he stopped Kazenbo. Then that would have given Kanjuro a purpose to have come back to life. Because 1047 removed the purpose that we were getting, right, which was burning Orochi. And it was like, oh, well, this is cool if this is how Orochi dies. But now that that's not how Orochi dies, now it's like, okay, there was no point to have Kazembo other than, again, having a plot device to keep characters in certain positions to move the story around. So, but, as always, I judge an arc once it's done. Because then I'll be able to see, okay, this was the plan. But a lot of the times, a writer, when you have so many characters, you have to keep the pacing and the geography. You have to have it make sense. So,
yeah, and I feel like if there's one arc where we might have that happen, where maybe some characters don't get the screen time we expected, or not every piece gets utilized to their full potential, it's probably this one, because I can't think of any other arc that has had this many named relevant characters with various plot lines going on at this. This is probably the most intricate arc in the story at this point.
It is. And it's because Oda is, the idea of this arc was to come into it and expect it to be some sort of Marineford parallel by a lot of people, right?
Okay, now we're getting into the Hiyori territory that I wanted to talk about. Well, continue, but yeah.
but the real issue here is that this isn't the Marineford parallel at all, because this is just more Eni's lobby more than anything. Because Oda, unlike Marineford, is trying to give everybody these 1v1s, which is something he didn't do during Marineford, which kept the pacing going, kept the chaos, the frenetic energy was just like, okay, we don't go back to Marineford and say, man, I wish I got more of Marco versus Kizaru. It's like, no, there's so many people here. This is just the way that it goes. There are so many people here in Wano. That's the way that it should be going. But Oda wants to do more and give more. And I mean, hey, I'll take whatever, however much of a fight he wants to give. But sometimes the pacing gets hurt from that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is what you guys wanted to see, because we have some hot takes coming out right now. I'm about to give you my reasoning for the Marineford parallel stuff. I actually think Wano is very much. It's about to get spicy. It's very much a direct.
It's about to get spicy.
It's about to get spicy, guys. All right, ready? Wano is, in my opinion, it is Marineford too, and I will justify this with a bunch of reasons.
Okay.
But I will start by addressing the point that we didn't get all those 1v1s in Marineford. I think there's a very good reason for that, because Marineford was told mostly from the perspective of like pre-time skip, like One Piece world, Luffy focus. Luffy's not at the level that the Whitebeard pirates were at. He was kind of in the background, almost in a way like how Marco is now. Luffy was you know, he was doing all the stuff to get to Ace. He was running towards the platform. He was getting in the way of the Marines and knocking a few people around. But the real star of the show was Whitebeard. Whenever Luffy did anything, he'd get intercepted. He'd have to get help from the people around him. He was basically getting tossed around like a rag doll. Whenever Whitebeard would do anything, it was an event. It was announced. Whitebeard's attacking. The strongest man in the world's attacking. Every panel where Whitebeard did anything in Marineford had to be like announced. It had to be this big, yeah. So, and he's my favorite character in the story. I have a video coming out on him very soon, probably within the next few days.
Shit over here.
I'm gonna talk about all of that. But the point I'm trying to make here is that that arc was not about Luffy. That arc was about the Whitebeard pirates. And the reason I say that is because the Whitebeard pirates were an example of how big the gap was between Luffy and where Luffy now and where he needed to be at that Pirate King level. Whitebeard was introduced as the man closest to the One Piece, the man who rivaled Roger, the strongest man in the world. And he goes to this war, and even he doesn't make it out alive. Luffy, from the beginning of the war, was basically carried by the Whitebeard crew. He would have died if not for them. And in front of him, from the beginning, the moment he arrives, he's standing next to Whitebeard, talking to him. He has this kind of like parallel going on where they're like talking on casual terms with each other. But the whole arc, they kind of take two different trajectories, where Whitebeard is this force of nature, and he's able to command an entire fleet of thousands of pirates. And Luffy is this one straggler who's like barely scraping by with his life, trying to save his brother, and fails in accomplishing that. So Whitebeard is an example of what Luffy needs to become, but he's not there yet. When it comes to Wano, I feel like we're now seeing the culmination of that. Luffy watched Whitebeard's leadership. He saw the leadership. He saw the strength. He saw the influence that man had and what he would do to save just one person that he cared about. Now we have Wano, where we have another big war, except this time it's Luffy who's raiding. Whitebeard raided Marineford, Luffy raided Onigashima. Luffy is in the captain's seat now. He is the Whitebeard of this event. And when he comes here to save Momo's on the execution stand instead of Ace. Mm-hmm. We have all the different things with like the Whitebeard pirates coming in. So like this is the first time we see them since Marineford. This is the first time we see Izo since Marineford. We have like familiar faces showing up again for this battle. Oh, yeah. And it is now a fight between Luffy, this new emperor, and another major power in the world. By the way, Kaido was also going to come to Marineford as well. So this is like all stuff that was like set up there, paying off here. And I see it, this is where the Hiyori thing comes in, but I see the relationship that Luffy and Whitebeard had being equivalent to the relationship that Momo and Luffy have now. Where Momo is now the kid who's fighting for his country. He's fighting to save his country, but he's not strong enough to accomplish it on his own. He's getting help from this legendary pirate who has arrived, raided, supported him with everything he's got. We've seen Luffy tank hits like no other. We just saw him in the last 4 chapters tank 2 Boro breaths. Everyone talks about how tanky Whitebeard was, where he took like 1,000 shots, all this stuff. Luffy's doing the same thing now. He's this tank. He's this legend that's coming in and doing all this crazy stuff. So where does this go? Where does this idea go? Well, if we're getting a Marineford 2.0 and we're going to have a major character death at the end, let's assume that that's on the table here. If Luffy is Ace, or not Luffy is Ace, if Momo is Luffy here, who is Ace? Hiyori is Momo's sister. Ace was Luffy's brother. If Momo is in Luffy's seat here, where he's learning how strong he needs to be a good leader for his people, what he needs to do for his country, if he's like looking up to Odin and thinking, how am I going to live up to this? Luffy is this shining example in front of him, and he's going to need a major kick. I can't say a bad word on stream. Major kick in the butt to get him to grow up and to learn how strong he needs to become. And that to me is Hiyori. Hiyori is the one that's going to have to die here. And why is she on Onigashima? She said to all the scabbards, I'll see you after the raid. She came to Onigashima to get revenge on Orochi, which didn't seem to work. So the question is, I would love for that, and I think it's going to happen, but I just wonder, why bring this character who's not super important to us as the reader, but super important to Momo. Why is she here, and why is she getting so much screen time now towards the end of this arc? I feel like we're building up.
I'm just imagining Momonosuke just going through another thing, man. Ugh.
Yeah, he would be a tortured soul, right?
Ooh.
So,
Oda, how much torture can you put this boy through?
But this is the thing, right? So, like, if that were to happen, this would be the big catalyzing moment for Momo to stop being a crybaby, for him to stop being so weak mentally and finally grow up. And I think this will be, like, if Hiyori does die in the arc, that will be the big tragedy that everyone's been waiting for in Wano, would be this character, Hiyori, dying in front of Momonosuke, or, you know, near him where he can see it, and then having this big moment where Momo has to, like, pull himself up, like, do something about it. Or we have an end of Marineford moment where Momo has to get carried out of there. He's catatonic. And if people are looking for the darkness in Wano, I think that's where it's going to be. I think it's not going to be in, like, Law dying or something. Although it's on the table, I just think that Hiyori is the one who has the big target on her back right now with the Marineford parallels and the setup that are happening. I think that's where we end.
Whew.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that is... That's spicy. I like that. I don't like it, but I like it.
I don't like it either. I just I love the writing. Like, if that were to work out that way, I could see the writing being very Oda, like a very Oda thing to do.
It's an unexpected thing that I think would. Now I want it. Like, now I want it. Yeah. No, I like the way you structured that, man. Definitely put that video out.
Yeah, I will. I definitely.
And man, just thinking about Momo going through more stuff. But I mean, granted, all of my thoughts with what should happen to Wano is also putting Momo through more stuff. You know, because it's like Maxo asked earlier, you know, like Hiyori for Shogun at the end. It's like, I mean, what if there's no Wano to have a Shogun for? You know, you got world government ships over here that want to annex Wano, right? They want the drunken iron ore. They want to continue making weapons to fund their their warmongering, right? So the only way that's why we need someone like Dragon to come in, who's tied to the weapons, to stop the world government ships, to save Wano. Like, if that's the only way that I see Wano gets out of this in a sort of a healthy way. But if there's going to be a Shogun, I think it's going to be Tenguyama Hitetsu, a.k.a. Kozuki Sukiyaki, hidden. So
I still like that idea. I think it's interesting if Sukiyaki is Hitetsu.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes with, like, every single other arc that we've ever had, right? Mm-hmm. The Fallen King that comes back into power. Gonfall, Riku, Cobra, Boodle, Dalton. Like, you know, it's just Oda loves that trope. So
yes,
you know, and why is this man a Kokeshi doll collector? And, you know, Sukiyaki had Kokeshi dolls, and why did, you know, Orochi just sort of smirk and not give an answer when Odin asked about his dad? It's like, oh, because he's not dead.
And it works perfectly if Momo is to leave Wano and join the crew, having
his grandfather just just watch the fort until he gets back, that makes sense. And then Denjiro stays and he's the aide and, you know, just protects Wano. Yeah,
I definitely could see that. I mean, right now, my point of view on how Wano ends is rather pessimistic, and it's like, it's funny because I'm usually a rather positive guy. I'm very cheery a lot of the time, but when it comes to this specific arc, I just see not like the raid failing sort of thing, but I see I see an ending that isn't exactly a victory.
Yeah, I always say a half victory. Like, we beat Kaido, but something is going to happen to Wano. Something else is going to happen. Because the other thing too is like, and I know that you're also a big proponent of all of the parallels, and I still feel like the biggest parallel of this arc, more than anything, is actually Thriller Bark. So that's why I feel like, we're already up against, we had 2 Yonko to go up against, which was in an arc that we had 2 warlords, right?
Warlords, yeah.
So one of my earliest theories was that, when the dust settles, Big Mom gets back up and she becomes, an issue, and like either, fights someone, takes someone's soul, runs off with it. That's why we go to Elbaf, right? But, to follow that up even more, there's still a lot of stuff with Big Mom's story that isn't fleshed out. We need the realization to come to her about what happened on our 6th birthday, and I think that pudding is the key to that with her memory fruit. Otherwise, why give her the memory fruit? But even still, now with the way that everything is set up, with CP0 being here, with now the world government ships being here, that's why I almost feel like the Kuma now has to be someone that's related to the world government, whether it's Vegapunk or anything like that. Yeah. But we're also at a precipice, and I talk about this, I think, every theory for theory, and probably every stream and everything, where every major player in the world has skin in this game, and whether they're here or not, right? Because it's like Blackbeard has a tie to Moria. Moria has a tie to Kaido. Blackbeard also has a bunch of reasons to come to Wano. Poneglyphs, Robin, whatever. Shanks, there's a movie coming out where he's supposed to be, playing a role in there, and you're never going to get a scene with Shanks and Luffy before it happens in the manga. So if there was ever any sort of thing where that's supposed to happen in Film Red, then Shanks has to pull up to Wano. The Revolutionary Army is the biggest thing, though, because their whole arc and everything that their scenes have been tying up to is to come to Wano and dismantle these factories. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but at some point in the story, it's going to happen. And
I could see the Revolutionaries pulling up. I feel like we're getting a little bit at capacity on Onigashima, but maybe like mainland Wano would be a better place to have like more factions come in if it doesn't just end here.
Yeah.
The Thriller Bark parallels I've been a big proponent of. In my Gear 5th video where I talk about Luffy becoming a giant, I talk about Thriller Bark being like the main setup for Wano. Sanji fights an invisible man. Wano gets invisible powers. Zoro fights Ryuma. Wano is all about the samurai and Ryuma's home country, and Luffy fights a giant, and then he becomes a giant in Wano. So that was like the big
right. And, like and the whole everything with Gear 5th to begin with.
Yeah.
Very Nightmare Luffy. And even in the structure and the title of the chapter, you had Warrior of Hope and then Warrior of Liberation. So, the Thriller Bark parallels are there, and that's why I think, we had the Nothing Happened moment, which was a moment between Zoro, Sanji, and an outside force. So I think it's going to be something similar, but Sanji is going to be the inversion, and he's going to have to deal with something, and then potentially this could be the, whatever this ends up being could be the reason why Sanji feels that he's going to be the biggest threat to the world government. So, and we have the world government here now. So,
yeah, I mean, the world government being there is a big question mark for me, because we have Kaido versus Luffy right now, and the whole thing with the saying where when it's 1v1, bet on Kaido, and Luffy is not the type to kill anyone, but Kaido's goal is to die, a spectacular death. So the way I see it is like, well, Kaido probably has to... So there's a whole thing about like Luffy not letting the villain achieve their goals. And if Kaido's goal is to die, then Luffy's not going to kill Kaido, and we know Luffy's not that type of person. But if Kaido is going to die this arc and not be an issue in the story for the rest of One Piece, he kind of has to be out of the picture. Jail obviously doesn't work. Execution hasn't worked up until now. Trying to off himself has not worked either. So what happens to Kaido? I feel like at the end of this fight with Luffy, it'll be maybe closer to a stalemate, or Kaido is not necessarily out for the count, but he's weakened enough where these world government ships coming in are going to finish the job. And I talked about this on a stream I did recently with Parvision, but I'm pretty convinced now that if we're going to parallel Marineford, if we're going to continue with these Marineford parallels, and an emperor is going to die at the end of the arc, for a new emperor to take their spot in the Big Four, I think Kaido's going to be that guy, and I think it's not going to be Luffy who does him in. It's going to be the world government. Because why else would the ships be there? There would be no point in setting up.
Zunisha's not going to smack him away like the Jack situation. No. They're here for a reason. Now, one of the things that I brought up in my recent video, which was inspired by a comment on the Discord, which was saying, what if, Kaido's got a fish fruit, right? So what if his, Cold Zero over on the Discord said, what if Kaido's awakening is just that, he can swim, and then this becomes like a sea battle where Luffy gets him into the water, and then now I've been saying that Luffy would be able to rubberize the water and like bounce on it, a la Aokiji with with ice. Hey, I mean, why not? He's rubberizing the ground. He should be able to bounce on water too now. So then we have the world government ships, right? Maybe something happens where Luffy is, he has another situation where he times out, right? Whoever's on the world, those ships, they end up capturing both of them, right? Mm-hmm. And then we actually get the Marineford 2.0, where Luffy is Ace. He's captured. And then now we spend almost the same amount of time that we did without the crew, without Luffy. Zoro leads. Then we have to collect all of our forces, right? Mm-hmm. We get the Grand Fleet. We get everybody that's ever helped Luffy to pull up to Marineford to save Luffy the same way that he liberated all of those other countries.
With the Beaver card stuff that was set up with the Grand Fleet too, that makes so much sense.
Right. So that's what I want. Where Sabo is not the one that's captured, right? Maybe he's part of the forces as well. He got away with Vivi. They all reconvene and all of this. He meets up with their crew. Now we have the Revolutionary Army. We have the Surats. We have the Grand Fleet. We have literally everybody that you could possibly imagine. Let's bring a boat with Kureha and Dalton while we're at it. Who cares? We finally see Gin again. And but anyway, everybody is here. The true Smash Brothers end. Luffy's on the execution platform, and everybody pulls up to save him. That's I get chills thinking about that idea, and I love that. And
I love that idea. That's new for me. That's totally new for me.
And especially if, say, the Grand Fleet, right, is responsible for another Impel Down jailbreak that we don't really actually necessarily maybe see, but like they think that Luffy's there, but he's not there, but they end up freeing people like Doflamingo, and we finally get Bon Clay back. There's a lot of things that can happen. I think that Hancock, no matter what, is going to end up at Mary Joa because of her tattoo. So it's, then we finally free Luffy, and then he's able to, with everybody at his side, right, and probably a bunch of defected Marines like Smoker and Kobe and Tashigi and other members of Sword, right, go up against Emu, go up against Akainu, and we finally free the world. So I'm so on board with that. Like, it's an idea that I think makes so much sense, especially considering that Oda, I think he wants to shake up the formula sometimes, which is what he's been doing for a while now. He's separated Luffy from the crew, and then he had the time skip, and then the crew got like split in half, and now they're together again. And then it's like, what about we try another dynamic? We tried what happens when Luffy doesn't have his crew. We tried what happens when they're split. Now let's try what happens when they're captainless. And that's what I want. That's the inversion I want.
It's perfect. I feel like that would make a lot of sense, and it would be really cool to see Luffy on the execution stand have his own like Roger final words moment where he says something on the execution stand to the whole world, and that like solidifies the image of Luffy in people's minds as like, wait, this is the next Pirate King here. And maybe he hasn't found the One Piece yet, but I could see that being a setup for his final journey to Laugh Tale once he does get freed, or whenever this does happen in the story. I think there will be some major like callback to the imagery of Roger on the execution platform, and then having Luffy in that same position, not necessarily to die in the story, but to kind of like come full circle to show how far he's come. Like, look, from the beginning, here he finally is. He is now held in as high of a regard to be like publicly, put on display like Roger was. And
yeah. And I mean, like, even talking about this right now, it was just like, I've always felt that, before we go to Marigeau, we should go to Laugh Tale first. But I was just thinking about, what if we free the world, right? And then it's just sort of this chill ride over to Laugh Tale. I mean, maybe we still have to deal with Blackbeard or whatever, but we finally get to Laugh Tale, and then the story is basically a recounting of everything that already happened. It's like someone's going to come 800 years from now and free the world and save everything, and then it's just like, and they laugh because it's like, cool, well, that happened, we did it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice way to take the story. I'm very excited to see how Laugh Tale like plays out, because there's so many ways it can go, and I still believe, even though we got Gear 5th and we see what it is and we know how it works, I still want to believe in your theory about the resin coating. And I wasn't all about the resin stuff until I saw your video, and I remember back then I retweeted it because I watched it and I was like, whoa, hold on. So I had to put it out there, and I was like, okay, I was thinking to myself, even after we got the Gear 5th reveal, how can this still work? Because I feel like it makes so much sense. Going back to that stream I had, a couple weeks ago with Parvision, we talked about an idea, and an idea came to my mind. And we kind of like developed this together. He had some stuff he was talking about, like the undersea currents. I had this idea that maybe One Piece, or maybe not the One Piece, maybe Laugh Tale, rather, is underwater. And if Laugh Tale were to be this big parallel to the lost city of Atlantis, and I'll support this with more information in a second, but it would make a lot of sense. Because if Laugh Tale were on sea level, if it were an island, it wouldn't really make sense for it to be as difficult to find as it is. The world government has so many ways to get around. They have all this advanced technology with Vegapunk.
Yeah.
You would think it wouldn't be as mythical of a place if it were just sitting there out in the ocean, maybe obscured by mist. I don't know. I just don't buy that being like the way it's hidden so well. It being under the ocean makes a lot more sense to me, because we have these coordinates with the 4 road poneglyphs. And where would they connect? You have 4 different points. They cross at an X. What's on the X? Laugh Tale. But what would make it really useful to have those coordinates is if you couldn't see Laugh Tale immediately, so you'd have to know where to be and then where to go down. This connects to the whole Ohara theory, this like the best One Piece theory ever video that he made a while ago, where he said he like translated something about Roger's quote talking about where the One Piece was. And I think the rough translation was, I left it down there. That's how it translated. So the One Piece is down somewhere. If it's under the ocean, and Laugh Tale is basically Atlantis, it works perfectly with the real Atlantis, because the real Atlantis was said to be an advanced society. It was said to have like represented the philosophical like perfect government that Plato thought of. It had all these like advancements. It was like a perfect society, but it sunk into the ocean. And the first place that people learned about Atlantis's existence, according to records, was from hieroglyphs in Egypt. And where's the first place that we see a poneglyph in the story? It's in Alabasta. So to me, the idea of like hieroglyphs in Egypt leading to a lost city that's under the water, an advanced society, just seems like so in line with what we've been experiencing with One Piece so far. And for it to be like under the water there would be crazy. And this all ties back into your theory with like the instant ship coding, needing to like go into the water, suddenly, or like have the ability to coat your ship to get somewhere. How did Roger get to Laugh Tale? Well, he had Rayleigh on his ship. He had a coder on board. The Straw Hats don't have that.
Yeah.
So that would kind of solve everything. That would make it all work. So I want to believe it, because this idea
as you
of
were saying
Atlantis,
that, I was going to chime in with Rayleigh being
Yeah.
able to code it. So
yeah. So it's like it just it just works. I feel like that would be the, like, if your theory is true and this theory that I have here is true, they would work together. So that's why I'm really rooting for it. I'm really rooting for the resin coating.
yeah, it's like a lot of people say that the resin is stupid, and it's like I think that it was blown out of proportion with whatever anybody else was saying about it. But it's like, I tried to find some like cool things to do. If Luffy was able to produce rubber, which he has not shown an affinity to do yet, but if he's already got paramecia and Zoan abilities. If he's shown to end up having some sort of Logia property where now suddenly he can produce rubber, as a level up to his awakening, then he can start creating weapons out of, like plastic weapons almost, that he can, sharpen and use, and create a candle champion, because he's always copying other people's moves and things like that. But I would love if Sabaody with the resin and the bubbles and everything like that was like a foreshadowing for what Luffy can do, and that he's able to just coat a ship in 3 seconds. Like, that part of it is cool to me. What other people were talking about with oil and all of this stuff, like I don't care about that. But him being able to actually coat a ship is awesome to me. Let's instantly go underwater. Then he could coat a bunch of ships, and like do a Whitebeard at Marineford, that kind of that's the kind of stuff that just like that gets me going. I want to get into some chats here.
Sure.
And Lucy B said, do you think the Sun God Nika thing has been planned by Oda? And if you think that, to which detail could this even have been planned? Well, I think that, I'm going to get into this in my next theory that is coming out, which is going to be about that I believe that Joy Boy, the original Joy Boy, much like Chopper, was not human and ate the human fruit. But in the Nolan and Calgara flashback, we are told about 4 gods, the Sun God being one of them. We learn about we hear more about the Sun God and how it relates to Elbaf through Mother Carmel and how they worship the Sun God. I think that there was always an idea for a Sun God in the story, whether or not that is actually tied to Luffy or anything like that. We don't know, but there was always some sort of a sun god, at least since Skypiea, meant to be in the story.
And if I may add to that, we have a lot of Skypiea stuff going on in Wano right now. We have a literal island floating in the sky held up by clouds. We have the significance of the moon coming up. We have the sun god stuff coming up again. We have lightning, which is an important point here, because if what you're saying is true about Luffy, or not Luffy, Joy Boy not having been a normal human, I think that's a very possible idea. I remember I was in your stream once, and I think I mentioned something about Joy Boy being a monkey, like a literal monkey of some sort, maybe a mink possibly, and this goes into the minx connection that you've talked about before with the Sulong, the white hair. Now we see Luffy literally throwing lightning spears. And electricity is a power of the minx. And if this is like a direct result of like Joy Boy's ability, then it's possible that Joy Boy was like an ape or like a monkey mink. And that would also make sense. Like, why are the minks on Zunisha's back? Zunisha's friend was Joy Boy. If Joy Boy was a mink, that would make a lot of sense.
See, I believe that a game of telephone happened over the years. And that there were, obviously there was hieroglyphs and there were conversations that were going around, because when you go to the Nolan and Calgara flashback and Moose is, being executed to appease the sun god, right? But there is an avatar for the sun god, and it is a giant snake. I think Joy Boy was a snake, and I think that that's why they held even Nola to a high regard in Skypiea as well. And we see Nola dancing around with little singing notes and all this stuff, always smiling and everything like that. And I think that Joy Boy was probably an ancestor of these snakes, but, and then we also have, and I'll be a little more articulate in my theory, but Snake Man, the only version of Gear 4th that is actually an animal. Bound Man, Tank Man, Snake Man. If there's some sort of memory in the fruit, then that there may be some sort of subtle thing for Luffy there. And we have the Snake Princess, Hebihime, falls in love with the person who has the Sun God Nika fruit. And the silhouette is very snake-like as well. So, but even more to that from a thematic standpoint, I think that it lines up because basically, if Joy Boy was a snake and ate the fruit, then he wouldn't be a mink because he's a reptile. He wouldn't be a fishman because he's not going to be able to breathe underwater. He's not quite human like Chopper's not quite human. He's not quite snake like Chopper's not quite reindeer. So he's a perfect outcast, a complete outcast, right? But he's the liberator of slaves. He's the liberator of the people, right? Because he wanted to be accepted. So he goes out of his way to save everybody else because he has no classification of his own and no name because he's a snake. But he's always smiling and laughing, so they call him Joy Boy.
So the one thing I will say, and I do like that idea because I think snakes and serpents have a very major significance in One Piece as a whole. At the entrance of the Grand Line at Reverse Mountain, there's a bunch of pillars that display serpents on them. I have this whole theory about how the giants of Elbath regard the Red Line as a great serpent covered in blood, and how that connects to like the Jormungandr, the world snake, and all this stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot of serpent symbolism in One Piece.
I want to get into Jormungandr with the, I've already shot it. So I get into it with Jormungandr a bit as well, because if a giant snake ate this, Nika fruit and had rubber abilities, they were able to become even bigger.
True.
So
that makes sense.
Jormungandr was able to wrap itself around the world, right? Huh. So then you would get pretty close if you were a snake the size of Nola and Kashi, and then turn into a giant beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, if he could be even trapped within the Red Line for all we know. We don't know what exactly happened to Joy Boy. He could be held like prisoner within the Red Line, and breaking the Red Line would free him. It could be something like that. I do want to put a point out there for the monkey mink theory, because I think that if we're talking about Snake Man, I also want to talk about how Luffy's name from the beginning has monkey in it. How in Skypiea, the very same arc, there were it wasn't like poneglyph text, but it was like engravings. I'm not sure where it was exactly. I have to go look it up. But
let me put this in perspective. Nika and Joy Boy are two different people. I think that Joy Boy was a snake, Nika was a mink. So Nika very well could have been a monkey and could be like the Sun Wukong, avatar or anything like that. Be this monkey, and then the very first being to go Sulong. And that's...
So you're saying Joy Boy ate the... So Nika was separate from Joy Boy, you're saying, and he also had the Nika fruit. Is that, or you're saying he didn't even have the fruit at all? He was a completely... So I'm trying to...
I think that there has to be a Nika that existed, and that some way, somehow, the devil fruit has the property or the lineage factor of the original Nika. And then the snake ate the fruit and became the second coming of Nika.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could still see Joy Boy and Nika being two separate people. I'm sort of leaning towards them being the same person, just because of the last few chapters and Zunisha directly addressing Joy Boy in the context of Luffy eating the fruit. I feel like...
But never referring to Joy Boy as Nika.
Never directly, yeah. So that's the only thing. That's like the linchpin in this idea of them being separate.
Because it's also strange that we have something like Sengoku's fruit, the model Daibutsu, right? So how did how did we get a fruit of Buddha? Right? So then it just kind of gets into this tricky territory of how are devil fruits made? You know, I mean, like...
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. How are they made? Like, where are these god fruits coming from exactly? I did an entire, like, lengthy theory. It's probably my most popular theory about how devil fruits were made. But in that video, I spoke about how in Japanese culture, there's a belief that everything has a soul within it. And the phrase for this is Yasogami. It's like many gods, essentially, is like a rough translation. But they believe that everything from like the chair you're sitting in to the clouds in the sky to the sand on the ground, everything has a soul. There are souls or gods within everything, which is also a reason that in Japanese culture they don't like to waste food, because they say that like in every grain of rice there's 7,000 gods. If you were to waste even a single grain of rice, you're throwing away all those souls that are in the rice. So they don't like to waste food. They don't like to be wasteful. They're very protective of the things they own. Because of this belief, I feel like this is like so ingrained in Japanese culture that I wouldn't be surprised if Oda took this concept and applied it to One Piece, where everything has a soul. And this goes back to every sword or everything has a breath that Zoro was talking about in Alabasta, the voice of all things. What is the voice of all things? Awakening. Yeah, so like if there is a voice of all things, if everything has a voice, is it possible that there's someone who could have commanded that voice from every individual thing in the world and put it into a fruit? Right? Which is why we would get all these wacky abilities like rubber, or like even like concepts such as being able to split apart, or things like gravity. Everything has a spirit within it. So that would make a lot of sense for it to transfer into a fruit. The question that comes up though is, where are these god fruits coming from? Are we supposed to assume that there were literal gods in the One Piece world at one point, or like godlike beings? I'm not entirely sure, but it's on the table, right? Because we don't know what happened 800 years ago. We don't know what the world looked like. So it could be like a man versus god thing. And this is going back to the Jormungandr, the world snake, which is when the story goes that when the snake's hold on its own tail, when that loop breaks, that will herald in the age of man. It will end the age of the gods and bring the age of man. So like maybe there was an inverse that happened there, where once the red line was created, once the loop was created, it ended an era of gods and began an era of man. Man being the world government, ruling over the world, and all these gods and myths and all these amazing things were left in the blank century. So I feel like there's an interesting inversion that's possibly on the table happening here, and maybe those fruits came from all these gods using the voice of all things to put themselves into devil fruits, to carry themselves forward through the generations. So that's pretty much, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for me at least, but I'm very curious to see how Oda explains this, because Kuma's walking around with the Bible. I want to know if that's like actually the Holy Bible, or if that's like a One Piece,
right, exactly. And I mean, but you also have things like the Adam tree, the Eve tree, and and there's even a shot of my guy.
Oh man,
Ty.
Thank you, Ty.
Guild Ty Soro, my guy. There's even what was I saying? I got distracted.
Yeah, no, I got distracted too, man. I got pulled right out of it.
Yeah. No. There's even a shot in the Nolan Calgara flashback where Saito, the son-in-law of Calgara, is feeding an apple to Nola. And it's like, there's all this like subtle imagery there and things like that, and yeah, there's a lot I'm getting into that video. So my guy Ty, he said, "Sorry I'm late, Captain, always on time." He said, "I'm sure I missed the film Red discussions, but the OP films always seemed canon-esque to me. Other than Shiki, the films really don't add to the core of the story. How do you see Uta's storyline going past film Red?" And he said, "What's up, Savage Crew?" Uta's storyline. Well, I feel like as long as Uta is the biological daughter of Shanks and not like a Ace and Whitebeard situation, or Hero looking Chopper, Kureha Chopper, Zeph and Sanji situation, if it's truly the biological daughter, which lines up with One Piece, right? Because most of the time the when the dad is not in the girl's life, that's the biological dad. If they're in their life, then let's pull the Mori flag. You're not the father. You're in their life. You're not the father. You're just not. So it's not. It's looking pretty good for biological daughter. I don't know if we'll ever see her in the manga necessarily, but she could get mentioned, like Shiki was mentioned. So
we could get a Chapter 0 situation.
I'd love that.
I think that'd be really cool, especially because I know that some people were pointing out the Emerald City possibly being in Film Red,
which is something I've always wanted in a movie, because ever since Bellamy brought it up.
Yeah. So if we actually get that in the movie, and the Emerald City is canon in One Piece, I could see Oda going back and touching on it and making it at least halfway canon. Maybe the events of the movie didn't happen, but the existence of Uda and the existence of the Emerald City might get referenced in a Chapter 0 type thing. I could see that.
Yeah, but I don't think that, considering that Uta is being introduced in a movie, I don't think that she'll ever have an impact on the greater story.
Yeah, because Shiki was introduced in the manga before the movie.
Yeah.
Right. So at least there was
through dialogue
in
by
that case,
Sengoku.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of he was already canon before the movie happened.
And Shiki will play a role, because when we eventually get that Rocks flashback, he'll be there.
Oh, yeah, he will.
So. And let's see. Barry Motivated said, "Sorry, I'm late." Quoting Ty over here. Said, "But is that a Gomu Gomu no Mi cardigan, and where do I get one?"
All right, so actually I can. So people asked me for my Devil Fruit sweatshirt last time, and I told them that it was on Instagram, and I couldn't find it. To which I had to sincerely apologize. I can tell you where to get this though. This one, if you go to steady-hands.com, this is a person who hand makes all these cardigans. It took me 4 months to get mine, 3-4 months, but when it came in, man, was it worth it. This is unsponsored, by the way. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not getting paid for this, but it is very comfortable, very swagged out. I would say my confidence boost is 100 points while wearing this. So feel free to check it out. Steady-hands.com. You can find them. These are all hand knitted cardigans from various different anime, not just One Piece. I think she is doing a new one. She's doing a Law, Trafalgar Law Punk Hazard cardigan, if you like Law. So check that out, because the store only opens periodically. It's open for a week or two, and then it closes up again for a couple months. So get on there.
You better get another free cardigan for that shout. Let's see. Brandon King said, "You think Vivi rejoins because of the Reverie fallout?" I think, well, one, Vivi never left. And two, yes, she does. She always rejoins. She is on any official merchandise with the crew. She is typically right there with them, even though she's not with them. She is coming back. That is that.
Every cover story that features all the Straw Hats in sequence always has a Vivi cover story as well attached to it.
Oh yeah.
So
always.
She is part of the crew,
always.
guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
People are sleeping. She can't do anything. She's not strong. Yeah. Just wait.
Who said you have to be strong? Look at Rockstar. He's on Shanks' crew. Guy has 84 million berries.
80. I think it's 81.
Is it 81?
80 or 81. Yeah.
Yeah, some low number.
Yeah. Let's see.
Every crew needs a Rockstar.
Benjamin Lewis said, "What happens next with Zoro? Does he save Hiyori and kill Orochi? Does he go back to the rooftop? Does he go somewhere else?" I think he's sufficiently next day air packed up. I think he's done. If he manages to get back up after all of that, and then the Grim Reaper thing, we need an explanation for the Grim Reaper thing before I'm gonna except Zoro doing anything. Now, granted, there was the line, I've brought it up a lot, where he said he did want to avenge Tonoyasu. So if anybody is going to take out Orochi that is not Hiyori, I would like it to be Zoro. It just doesn't make sense in the context of everything that we've seen with him. I would prefer that Hiyori just cuts this man's head off in the next chapter or two.
I could see Zoro doing it just because of the Ashura thing, with him also having multiple heads, and the whole.
Like, he has an awakening from his swords, and then suddenly like he just turns into Hollow Zoro.
There could be something with that, because Ryuma was a hero of Wano. I feel like if Zoro's going to live up to that in any sort of way, Orochi is probably the best target for him to take out at the end of the arc.
Hito no Mi models sword god.
Yeah. He secretly had a devil fruit this whole time.
In one of his swords.
Yeah, like, I personally think the Grim Reaper is a manifestation of Enma. I think it is because Enma is the king of hell, and the Grim Reaper is, the person or the entity that leads you to the afterlife. Could be connected to hell in some cultures. I think the Grim Reaper might just be a good way to represent Enma's spirit, basically taking the haki out of Zoro, knocking him out. And when he wakes up, he's not going to be in a strong enough state to like do something like take out Kaido or do something incredibly like significant combat-wise. But taking out Orochi, Orochi's a scrub. So we just need Zoro to kind of like, we need Zoro to pack up Orochi, send him out, get him out of here.
All he needs to do is throw a pound of hoe from like while he's hanging on Zoro, hanging on Frankie. He's just like, and it just goes,
just like a flick. That'll be enough. I think that'll do the job.
We just see him. He's just there, and he just like looks up.
Yeah, like what he did at the end of was it Orange Town, where it was like Buggy's pirates. And they saw Zoro like, who's this green-haired guy?
Right, yeah. And he basically hit him with that Conqueror's haki right then and there in like chapter 20.
First Conqueror on the crew, guys. We'll see that. I think Zoro still has one last thing to do before the arc's over.
Yeah.
So,
Michael Lacoste, another super chat, said, "What if Marco, since he has fire powers, he helps Momo in some way with moving Onigashima, either teaches him by giving him a different perspective or handling the fire or otherwise?" I love that. Someone else had brought something similar up in a previous stream. Basically, like, that's a worthy enough thing to have Marco in the arc, right? If he, as someone who knew Momonosuke when he was a kid, right, knew Odin, goes underneath Onigashima and coaches him a little bit and like helps him out, that's passing the torch right there. I like that. And if he sacrifices himself by like helping move everything and like saving Wano, that absolves him from not coming to Wano sooner also.
Yeah.
Milo, go. W's in the chat. W's in the chat. Gosh. Especially considering it's probably like 5 or 6 in the morning for my guy.
Wow, insane donations. Thank you guys. That's so cool.
He said, "Where's the tinfoil straw hat, Captain?" And he said, "You need one too, Hidden Island." 94 million bounty for Rockstar, guys.
My bad. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Complete lapse of judgment. I didn't remember the legend.
Right. Come on. Also, theories on the ancient weapon's purpose? ? Also, when are we going to the moon? Okay. Chrissy's got to help me with the tinfoil straw hat. So we gotta remind her, Milo. Okay. So
man,
we're gonna I'm gonna take. I think it was Phantom who said, wrap the tinfoil around the straw hat that I already have, and then it'll be in the shape of the hat. So it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. We're gonna have it. Instead of a normal tinfoil hat, we will have a tinfoil straw hat. Just gotta have the time to make it. All right.
That's excellent. Could I say for the ancient weapons? I guess to answer this super chat.
Yeah.
So the ancient weapons, the first video I ever made was talking about what I think their purpose is.
Great.
And I am still
Floor is yours.
very set on this. I think that the ancient weapons were designed purely to fight the world government. They were designed as a direct counter to them, and I think they were made not for the purpose of destruction, but for the purpose of freeing people. A lot of times in One Piece, people are like mislabeled. That's like a common thing the world government does, where they label the people of Ohara as demons. They labeled in Wano, even now we see the Kozuki clan as being labeled as traitors and fools. And
this is exactly why I believe that Rox was actually a good guy.
It's possible. It's possible that there's more to his story, because I at this point I don't trust anything that we hear from the powers that be, even though they're the ones that probably info dump the most on us in this story. Right. How much of that information is accurate? So when it comes to the ancient weapons, it's like, man, I have a hard time believing that the ancient weapons are as big of a threat to everyone as it's made out to be. I think, if anything, they're just a big threat to the world government. And the reason they don't want people getting the ancient weapons is because those things in the wrong hands, in this case, the wrong hands being anyone that's not the WG, you know, if it's in the wrong hands, it's going to basically ruin the show they're running. So, yeah, I feel like the ancient weapons are built for the purpose of freeing people. The Noah is probably, you know, made as a big as a big ship for the purpose of evacuating the fishmen out of Fishman Island when it gets destroyed, and the ancient weapon of Poseidon is the main engine for that boat. It's the means to bring that boat to the surface, to get everyone out of there, to get them out of this literal giant fishbowl. The world government essentially stuck all the fishmen people in a giant fishbowl. It's essentially a prison for them, and the Noah and Poseidon will be the way that they escape. I think the other ancient weapons are going to play a similar role. We don't know what they are yet, but I can't imagine them being purely destructive. I think they're gonna serve a purpose, whether it's for like a mass exodus or something. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with those. I think weapon is actually just a name that they've been given. I don't think they're weapons at all. But
yeah, I mean, they do. I imagine that they all do have some sort of destructive property, if used destructively, right? But they can totally be used non-destructively as well. And but I also don't believe that it was the world government specifically that put the fishermen down below. I think that they pushed them away, but that it was actually Joy Boy that helped them get away temporarily, and that the apology, my guy, Big Ty,
oh my goodness,
Guild Ty Zoro. This is my guy right here. This is my guy. Guild Ty Zoro.
I like Tesoro. That's Ty, you should be happy with that, man. That's a good character. For a movie villain, he's one of the ones I wish was canon. I actually like him.
Oh yeah. So. Tesoro is dope. I almost like literally called him Ty Zoro. Now, I think that the apology was basically Joy Boy failing to get them back onto the surface. And if I had to tie it into my Tamate Bako theory, I think that the pills that Hody took were created by Joy Boy and his alliance of people to emulate Joy Boy's power to take on the world government, but nobody's bodies could handle the strain. So when they all ended up on the front line, they all collapsed, and Joy Boy lost his entire army because he thought that they were able to take them on, but their bodies just broke down and everybody shriveled up, and it was just him by himself, and that's what he had to apologize for.
Could I play off of this idea for a second? Because I love the whole Tamate Bako thing that you've been talking about lately. I think it's such an important concept, because we're seeing this happen with Luffy right now, where when he goes out of Gear 5th, he I don't know if that's just a gag that Oda's doing, but it looks like he's rapidly aging, which
the Hody comparison.
Yeah, the Hody comparison's real right now. Unless we see otherwise, I'm pretty convinced that Gear 5th rapidly ages him, just like we've heard with Gear 2nd, it shortens his life. Maybe this is another situation like that. So if that's the case, let me just put a tinfoil straw hat idea out there. If Luffy is going to actually age rapidly the more he uses this fruit, is it possible that what people perfect, get this out, because guys, what would the purpose of an immortality surgery be if Law were to perform the surgery on anyone at any point in the story? Who else would it be besides Luffy, the main character, who, in using this power to save everyone on Wano, rapidly ages and like approaches the end of his life as a result of using Gear 5th? Maybe the immortality procedure is what Luffy needs to survive using this ability. We haven't seen what the drawbacks are for Gear 5th yet. Like, we haven't seen the major drawbacks. We've seen, like, for a second he ages, but we haven't seen what the major, like, drawback is for using this game-changing ability. So
yeah, I've actually talked about this a lot. And it's also because I you know, I believe that it's not going to be full immortality. It's just lifespan. So it's going to be whatever Law has remaining, because that's the currency that we deal with in the story. So I think that whatever Law's got left is what he's going to be able to give to Luffy. He's going to believe in Luffy. He's going to believe that Luffy's going to be the one to take this to the end, and that's what's going to prompt him to do the surgery. Luffy will probably be passed out or dead, and he's not going to be able to say no to it, and then that's how we lose Law.
Oh, that kills me, actually, thinking about Luffy waking up to Law, like you know, like the moment with Luffy and Jinbei where they're like exchanging blood. Yeah. And they're like laying on the ground next to each other.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of exactly that now.
That moment, right? Where they're laying down, Luffy wakes up and like Law's dead and Luffy's like alive, and it's like, I don't know if you've seen have you seen Attack on Titan?
I have not.
I've seen
what did I watch? Like 20 episodes.
I think
very bad.
Yeah, I think there's like something in the second season that happens that's kind of similar. I won't give any spoilers, but there is a very comparable moment that I would love to see that happen with Law and I love Law. I love him as a character. I wouldn't love to see him die in the story, of course, but
yeah.
At the same time, that moment would be quite impactful. That'd be heavy, man. So yeah.
L to the sword theory at that point, but yeah. So Ty said Milo Dono's in his sleep. Did you guys already discuss how 10:15 confirmed Yamato for the crew? I mean, the anime has made me love Yamato way more than I ever did in the manga. And I mean, I like Yamato a lot. And I started to like Yamato a lot more when we saw their fruit and like ice powers, because I just love ice powers to begin with. So if it works and Oda goes with it, like I'm on board. But I think we're still getting Momo and Tama and Vivi as well, and it's going to be a big old party.
Is Frozone your favorite character in The Incredibles?
Yes.
With the super suit?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. No hesitation. Yes.
No hesitation. That's awesome.
And then also at the end, Milo asked, when are we going to the moon? Which also ties into something that Brandon King asked earlier. When's the next time we're going to see Enel? And will he return on Elbaf? I mean, maybe because of the Thor comparisons, but when are we going to the moon? I don't know, unless Laugh-Tale is on the moon. You know, it's a possibility as well. Maybe it's not underground, it's up top, you know.
Yeah, it's a theory that I've heard a bunch, like in the past year. I am open to it being on the moon. The only question, like the only obstacle that we'd have to get over is explaining away how they're able to survive on the moon, because the explanation for the Lunarians is that they were able to exist in the most harsh of environments, and Enel is a Skypian, and he possibly has like genetic influence from the Lunarians there. He's also a Logia user, so like electricity may not need to breathe in outer space. But how do we get the Straw Hats up there?
If we can coat them all in resin, then they're not gonna have to worry.
There we go. This is why I'm such a fan, because these theories work out, man. They all connect. I love
it. Grizzly Adams asked about something that we did talk about at the beginning of the stream. Hidden, your Yamato Momo vid is my favorite one that you've made. Have you changed your opinions on that at all, or do you still think that Yamato stays, Momo goes? Also, how's the Whitebeard video going? So we did talk about this at the beginning at length. When I put the VOD up for this afterwards, we can give a spark notes though.
Yeah, I'll just basically quickly surmise my thoughts. I still believe Momo's going to join, although this kind of connects to the video where I was talking about how they were both like two halves of the Odin coin, which I said. I think that at this point they're kind of tied together. They're attached at the hip. And I feel like if Momo's going to join, it's possible that Yamato will join with Momo, and it'll be like a combined package deal. But I'm still of the opinion that Momo will join. And as for the Whitebeard video, I am working on it. It is getting longer than I thought it would be. No surprise though, because he's my favorite character, and the more I write about him, the more I find to write about him. So I wanted to actually put that video out tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to happen. It might take a couple more days. But yeah, it's well in the works. I appreciate the interest though. I'm very excited to put this one out. I have a lot of attachment to this video in particular. So,
yeah, I see Yamato going. I talked earlier about how I want Luffy to be at Ace's grave, right? But I also think that it would be appropriate if Yamato and Tama were there at the same time, because they all have like a tie to Ace. So that makes sense to me. The only person that I'm really iffy joining the crew at all is just Carrot, and that's just, and it's really just what Oda has been doing with Carrot, and it's like I use this analogy a couple of times, but it's like, all right, you're in the high school cafeteria, right? And everybody's got they've got their tables. You got the theater kids, you got the jocks, you got the punk kids, the goth kids. Everybody's sitting at their own table, right?
Great analogy.
So you have all of the Straw Hats sitting together at the beginning of Wano, and Carrot went to the mink table. She didn't go and sit with the Straw Hats.
Yeah.
The Straw Hats went and they did all of these different things and all of this stuff. Even at Yasuie's execution, Carrot did not join in, wasn't there to be in the battle with everything. She stayed with Wanda and went and did all of these other things for Inuarashi. Meanwhile, she just had this long, journey where she was sitting with the Straw Hats for a while at Whole Cake Island. And I've never seen her interact with Frankie. I've never seen her interact with Zoro. I've never seen her interact with Robin. And it's just, other than Zoro and Carrot fighting for like 5 seconds at the beginning of Zo. So it's like, and now we're in Onigashima. And who does she stay with? At the beginning of it, she stays with Nami, who's just someone that she had an established relationship with in Whole Cake Island. And then once it's like, zeroes in on this whole Perospero thing, she's with Wanda now. She hasn't left Nekomamushi's side in chapters. She's sitting at the mink table. I think. Yeah. I don't think she goes with the Straw Hats unless Oda puts her back onto the table, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here.
I can't, like, the thing is with Carrot, I think the Straw Hats are allowed to make friends without having them need to become like members of the crew. Carrot is a friend to the Straw Hats. They have formed an alliance. Remember, guys, that the alliance is called it's the Straw Hat, Samurai, and Mink Alliance. So she is as much of a part of the Straw Hat crew as the Samurai are, as Raizo is, as Kinemon is. She's part of this alliance, but at the end of the day, I don't think that she needs to be a Straw Hat. She has served her purpose in the story as the representative of the Minks on the Straw Hat ship.
Yeah.
Pedro did as well, and now she's kind of carrying on Pedro's will in this war. She's the one that got revenge. Her and Nekomamushi and Inuarashi and Wanda, they all kind of got revenge for Pedro. She doesn't need to be locked into the crew just because she has a relationship with the Straw Hats,
My guy Ty, he's such a sav. He said, just tell Carrot to sit down to eat some grass. Shout out to Perospero. Kip/Seaway member for 6 months. What do you guys think about Big Mom Pirates currently still MIA somewhere on Wano and their possible role moving forward? I mean, I'd love to have them be fodder for the SSG so that we understand the capabilities. Because I think the SSG have to be on those world government ships. What
do you think the SSG does? Like,
I think they're good smiles. I think that like that's like the inversion that's being played with here. We have the smile fruits, which give you all of this ridiculous power, right? But then we actually have an example of this with the pacifistas, right? Where it's a Kuma clone that has a Paramecia version of Kizaru's fruit taken from his lineage factor, right? So if we go along that sort of line, they're either robots or other Marines that have had split lineage factors into them to where now they may have Paramecia style Logias. So there may be someone that can, produce magma but not turn into magma, produce ice but not turn into ice, and other various like fruits that some of the Marines have, but without the drawback where this animal is like, alive and sentient within them. It's just people with artificial fruits of fruits that we've already seen.
What do you think about the idea that maybe the SSG is kind of like an extension of the pacifistas, except instead of just Kizaru's power, they have the lineage factor from, the warlords? Like they somehow replicated the abilities that the warlords had, or possibly the other admirals. What if we got magma powers in there, or ice powers in there?
That's what I was saying.
Right,
ice and magma,
right? So if there were like all these different devil fruit powers, not just smiles, but like in general, all these different destructive powers, possibly from the previous warlords, put into these robots that listen to orders. Because the problem with the warlords is that they kind of operate on their own. Yeah. But the SSG would completely trump that if they were able to get that same destructive power, but with 100%, control over it. So I'm with that idea that, like, at the very least, if not just smiles, devil fruits are going to be relevant to how the SSG works. Vegapunk has, in my opinion, he's cracked the code to some degree on how devil fruits work, and he's using it right now with the SSG.
Oh yeah.
So,
Mr. Future Singer, this is for you, Hidden, said, "My boy Hidden got such luscious hair, so kawaii." But answer me this:
thank you.
Why is Usopp gonna carry the rest of One Piece as we know it? Best Straw Hat. Because he's a god.
He is a god. I mean, he's the first god on the crew before Luffy. So at the end of the day, I feel like we can't sleep on Usopp. Whatever happens at the end of Wano, no matter what happens, I know Usopp hasn't gotten much shine this arc, but next arc, or whenever we get to Elbaf, I think anyone that's an Usopp hater is going to change their tune very quickly, because this man is going to do some incredible things in the story. And I think maybe in Elbaf he will, unironically, I think he might carry in Elbaf to some degree. I think that's his arc to carry. So
hey, let's have it happen. I love when Usopp has those moments where he does what the others can't do.
Yeah.
Vernon Co. said, breaks over, gotta bounce, like D-Stream, and sub to Hidden Island. Yes, everybody. All right. If you like the discussion, all right, and you like the points that the Hidden Island is saying, his information is linked below. Sub to my guy.
Please do. Sub to me. Follow me on Twitter. I promise I won't let you guys down. If you like what you're seeing today, there's so much more of that on my channel, and there will be so much more of that in the future. So please give me a sub, guys. I appreciate it. I love all of Randy's chat. So, any of you guys that haven't checked me out yet, I would love to have you be a part of my community as well, because you guys are great. So
let's see here. And then I want to speed run through a couple other chats here. Sure. Milo said, so we'll have the ancient weapons versus the SSG. I mean, at some point, maybe. I mean, when we're in the final war and we have Shirahoshi there with a bunch of Sea Kings. I mean, I could see something like that happening. Lucy B said, I saw a Japanese theory once that one ancient weapon maybe could control the tides, and the world government flooded the world, committing a massive genocide and causing the world to look like what it looks like now. Now, I've always assumed that the Void Century is there because of a mass genocide. That's a great way to get us there, and it also prompts the necessary need for the Noah, right? A great flood is coming, so, let's get everybody onto the ship and save people. And it's also a reason why, you would go underwater and why you would go above onto Zo as well.
And if we're taking this back to the Jormungandr discussion we were having earlier, the World Snake stuff, the end, or I believe it was the end of the era of the gods where the loop is broken. What happens? What is the cataclysm that takes over the world? It is a great flooding that happens. So if we're doing this whole reverse like World Snake mythology, a great flood coming about with the existence of the Red Line would connect so well. It would make so much sense because that's how we got.
And Norse mythology is the reason why we're all here anyway. That's what got Oda into One Piece. So when we do get to Elbaf and quote me, we will go there. Oda's gonna flex because it's just as much as he wanted to do Wano. Trust me, he wants to do Elbaf.
He really wants to do Elbaf. He has so much influence coming from Norse mythology. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the Great Flood stuff. I'm ready for the Red Line stuff. I fully expect probably the biggest lore dump in the series in Elbaf. Up until that point, will probably be the biggest lore dump. So,
Enter a Name said, "What's our headcanon for what really happened at the Reverie?"
You can take that, Randy. I have a video on that, so I'll keep my thoughts concise on it.
I mean, as far as what really happened at the Reverie, I mean, I think that from the Shanks perspective, I think that the pirate that he was talking about was Luffy, and I think he was trying to activate Luffy's fruit because he knew that. I think that there was. I think the reason why Shanks has had so much power in this world is because the world government thought that he still had the fruit, that he hadn't used it and was holding it over their heads. And I think in that particular moment during the Reverie, he told them, no, Luffy has it. And that's why it seemed like new information to them. And that's why they ordered my guy Dripper Scarfino to take him out. Mm-hmm. And I think that Shanks knew what would happen if they found out and all of that. And Shanks is trying to heed Roger's words to him, anything like that, what Rayleigh probably would have told him, and sort of get us towards this endgame and live up to its getting close to our meeting time, Luffy. As far as Vivi, which is my favorite thing to speculate upon, I think that Wapol told Big News Morgans that Vivi was a pirate. And I think that Sabo, either Sabo or Sai and Leo, who all have Viva cards to Luffy, got Vivi out of there. And she is, basically a fugitive now with a bounty because she was formerly a pirate, and she's on her way to Luffy. And wherever they go after Wano, Vivi's going to be there to meet up with them, and she's going to have a bounty now.
That's a great... I have not heard that before. That's an excellent...
It's my favorite theory. It's only like a 10-minute video on the channel I did like 2 years ago. But
jeez,
Vivi's coming back.
That throws my theory on its head, and to be honest, I like this one more. I'll be honest, man. I was convinced that Sabo died at Reverie, or at least something really bad happened to him. But I mean, yeah, him kidnapping Vivi would make a lot of sense for the headline reactions. I'm not totally buying into him getting captured. I just feel like it would be too much of a retread of the Ace situation.
That's why I want it to be Luffy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally within Oda's wheelhouse to have it be Sabo, but that's why I want him to flip it. Let it be Luffy. Have this rally moment of all these people come and save him, but and have Sabo be part of the people that's trying to save him. Give him the opportunity to go to Marineford and do what he couldn't do for Ace, but for Luffy.
Yeah. Let Sabo prove himself, because right now he's kind of just an extension of Ace. Like let him kind of like come into his own as a character. I totally, I'm with that. And yeah, I mean that's a really interesting idea, because I completely forgot that Wapol being at the Reverie is a huge problem for Vivi, because out of everyone there, he knows that she was with the Straw Hats at one point. I don't think there's anyone else there currently. That knows.
No, that. Exactly. And we see in big news that Wapol is calling Morgans with proprietary information from the Reverie, and it's like, what does he know that no one else knows that would spill the beans? He knows that Vivi was a pirate, because he was on the Going Merry and recognized Vivi before Luffy knocked him away.
Can we bust out the soundboard for this one? That's a good one.
Which sound do we need?
What do you think's the hypest one you have? I think you got to hit it with the hypest sound effect you have.
I don't know.
Ready? Hit me with the Savage. All right, ready? I'm gonna say something and then.
All right, go ahead. I'll hit you with the Savage.
All right. Yo, Vivi got a bounty right now, and Sabo helped her get out of Reverie. Savage. Oh man, that's awesome. If I can add, though, I do think that the reason Shanks has so much pull with the world government is because they kind of utilize him as a tool, and the tool, specifically the thing that I think they use him for, or what he holds over their heads, is I think he has the ability to see far into the future, like with observation hockey, beyond what we've seen, because we know that Shanks is like a hockey-based guy. Okay. We know that he. We don't have it confirmed officially, but the assumption is he's mostly about hockey. He doesn't have a devil fruit. So it would make sense for his observation hockey to be just as advanced as his conqueror's hockey, armament, whatever. So let's say hockey that Shanks can, he's hockey man. So let's say he can see the future really, really far beyond what Luffy, Katakuri, or Kaido can do, what we've seen up until now. And what if that ability to see the future is why he's in the know about all these different events in the world, why he was able to predict. He literally told Whitebeard what was going to happen at Marineford. He said, Blackbeard's going to come for you. He's going to take your spot. Don't let Ace chase after him. He goes to the Gorosei and he tells him something about a certain devil fruit. And shortly after this, or a certain pirate, and shortly after this conversation, they're talking about the Nika fruit, and Luffy awakens it within, probably days of Shanks having this conversation with them, if not at the same time. So the guy has information. He was able to know that Kaido was going to intercept Whitebeard. He stopped him. I feel like this guy can see quite a bit of the future, and the reason the world government is open to listening to him or hearing him out is because they know this, and they know that he's in possession of information that they don't have, because he's going to see it coming in advance. So any issues that might disturb the order of things, any problems that could become an issue for the world government. We're talking about hockey, guys. This is what I think the key is. I feel like Shanks' hockey is the reason they're willing to sit down with him. I think every time he comes to them, it's always with some information about something pertaining to the future. That's what he does with everyone he talks to. It's always warnings. It's always talking about the future. It's always, hey, this is going to happen. Don't do this. He saves Kobe. He says those few moments of courage change the future. They will have a significant impact. It's always in reference to the future. So that's my take on what Shanks is talking about. I think that's the reason they're willing to sit down with him.
Even if you can, even if you know the future, that doesn't mean you don't have the power to change it.
True. And
shout out to Capone.
I was gonna say, yeah, Beige talks about this in Whole Cake. Everyone has an equal right to change the future. So
yeah. Shout out to Milo, who said free Barry motivated. I guess she got a call.
and by that same token, I think Luffy, everyone's like kind of caught up on the whole Luffy is the chosen one thing, and like whether or not
he is.
Yeah, and
whether,
he is.
Whether we like it or not, he is.
From a meta sense, he has to be the chosen one.
Ty had his own soundboard request. Oh my god.
Hit him.
He said, I got a soundboard request, and Barry needs the siren. Yep, there it is.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so Luffy, from a meta sense, like you're saying, is the chosen one, right? There's no way to avoid that. He's the main character. He has to be the chosen one. Otherwise, we wouldn't be following him for 1,000 chapters.
Yeah.
But like in universe, right? Like the whole idea of in universe, his accomplishments were predetermined. They were always going to happen. I don't think so. I am pretty convinced that Luffy was not the one that was supposed to receive the fruit. Shanks had seen a different vision. He was on that island for Ace. He was not there for Luffy. And Luffy...
Yep, I believe that as well. I've said that before.
Yeah, and Luffy taking the fruit was Luffy changing the future. So Luffy wasn't predetermined to be anything. But Luffy, through his tenacity, through his curiosity, through his free will, changed the course of the future, ate the fruit, and then when Shanks saw this in Luffy, he saw the type of person Luffy was, he chose to give an arm to save him. That was his quote-unquote bet on the future. He was like, well, damn, the plan was messed up. Ace was supposed to get the fruit, he didn't get it, now this kid has it. Right. And then he sees what type of person Luffy is, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to make a bet. I'm going to say that this person is better off with the fruit. Luffy is better off with the fruit, and he made a bet on the future that way.
And that's why I think he stopped Kaido from going to Marineford, because at that point, he felt Ace needed to die. But he only showed up when he found out that Luffy was there.
Yes. I agree. I think everything Shanks did at Marineford was to save Luffy. Everything it was all for Luffy up until that point. I don't think he was too concerned with helping Whitebeard or stopping Kaido to help Whitebeard. I think it was stopping Kaido to keep Kaido from coming in and basically getting Luffy killed, because Luffy would have no backup, he'd have no help. He'd be in the middle of the greatest war the world has known in hundreds of years. So it makes sense to me. I really believe in the Shanks can see the future sort of idea, and Luffy can change the future, and that's what makes him special, not the devil fruit. It's not the devil fruit that makes him special.
No. Shout out to Martin Victorino for joining the channel. He said he didn't know who you were, Hidden Island, but he's definitely going to check you out after this. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I'm pretty hidden right now, no pun intended. Well, very, very intended, actually. But
I mean, I wouldn't say you're hidden currently. You're here. You're in the open.
I am here. Yeah. But yeah, man. There's so much going on right now in the story, and right now we're entering a new era for One Piece and One Piece YouTube, because we haven't had this level of like hype and this many crazy developments in so long. Like back when Marineford was happening, I wasn't around for it. I wasn't caught up at the time. I got caught up like in like the beginning of Whole Cake, around there. I wasn't around for Marineford, but I can only guess that the community discourse was similar to what's happening now. The level of like the theory crafting that was coming out around that time was insane.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. I normally start these with this, but what's your origin story with One Piece? Like, how did you get into things?
Okay.
And Chin, I'm sorry, I did miss your members chat, and my chat isn't going back enough to find it, and the members chats I can't see in the studio. So if you just tell me what you said, I'll read that out. But Milo said the hidden island is hidden no more. So go ahead, man. Let's get that origin story, and then I'm gonna wrap up the chats, and then I think we're almost at the 2-hour mark here, and I want to put the VOD up, and people probably aren't gonna watch 2 hours when it's not live.
Sounds good.
But I want to, but this, so we'll get the origin story, and then we'll start wrapping things up.
Cool. Yeah, so with One Piece, I had like a very up and down relationship with when I first got into it. I got into it when I was a kid. I was probably like around 10 or 11. I don't remember exactly, but I think the anime was up to Skypiea at that point, and I was watching the anime. Unfortunately, my first exposure to One Piece was in the 4Kids dub. Unfortunately as well, once I got past the 4Kids dub and I started watching subbed, this was back in the era of YouTube when you would watch like episodes of Naruto, like Naruto episode 145, part 1 of 8, and you'd have to watch like
you did it like I mean, you went and you did a proper rewatch, right?
Yeah, right. I did. So what happened was I got up to like Skypea roughly watching on YouTube, and I was a little bit burnt out. It was getting a little long. I didn't have the attention span when I was younger, and I kind of just dropped the series at Skypea and didn't touch it again until about 4 or 5 years ago, when one of my best friends, he was like convincing me. He was talking about One Piece, and he was like, "This series is amazing. You seriously got to give it another chance, man." At the time, I was just like a big JoJo's guy, so I wasn't like I was an ignorant JoJo's fan. I'm sure some of you guys out there, no harm meant to the JoJo's fan base, but there's a bunch of them out there. I was one of those people who was like, JoJo's the best. I don't want to touch anything else. I don't care. So that's where I was like 5 years ago. My friend finally sits me down. He's like, "Dude, you have to check out this show." Okay. At this point, I'm going through like kind of a rough spot in my life. I was looking for work. I had gone through a breakup. I started living on my own that year. So I was just like in a really pressured situation. And one night I was like, you know what? Let me try and unwind. I'm going to take the recommendation. I'm just going to put on episode 1 of One Piece. And I put episode 1 on Crunchyroll, and I sat over the next 2 months. I watched the entire anime up until the beginning of Whole Cake, and then I just read the rest from there, and it was history, dude. I was like, I became so obsessed with One Piece that in order to like catch up to it, I was doing binging sessions some days of like 30 to 40 episodes in a sitting. I just could not stop. It was like I was so absorbed in the material, and then when I finished it, I did a reread, and now I'm on my like 4th trip through the series. And if
you ever watch it again, you should use One Piece.
Yes, yeah. So I have rewatched a bunch of it on like using One Piece, which is a way better way to experience the series. But I will say, I mean, for my first time through, I didn't get affected too hard by the pacing. I think the only part that I had to take a break for a little bit was when I got to Punk Hazard. Was I think the big point in the story where I was like, okay, I just need to step away for a little bit because I'm starting to feel the drag. But once I finished Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, I finished in like 2 sittings. That was epic. And then yeah, I mean, here I am. My wife actually, who I met 3 years ago, or I met 4 years ago. I got married a little over 2 years ago. She reads One Piece, and I didn't know this when I met her. We were talking about anime, and then One Piece came up, and then it was a wrap. So like One Piece has played such a big part in
yeah. You just popped the knee right there.
Yeah, no, I proposed like right there. She told me I like One Piece. What actually happened was I had this Trafalgar Law, this big puffy law hat, and I sent her. She was in Japan at the time. I sent her a picture of me in the law hat, and she's like, "Is that Trafalgar Law? Like, is that Law's hat?" And I was like, "Wait, you know what this is?" And she's like, "Yeah, I own every volume." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I guess we're getting married now." So that's what happened with that. And yeah, I mean, needless to say, One Piece has been such like a big part of my life. And for the past like year or two, I've been making these theories. I've been sharing them with my friends, and they gave me the idea to start a channel. And yeah, what happened with the channel though, I don't know if you remember, Morge did this like event on his, he did an event on his channel where he was looking for someone to like, not edit for his videos, but like to find the manga panels for his videos. And he had like a little competition where like you email in, and then you'd have to like time yourself and find the panels he wanted. Yeah. I was like so hyped about that. I entered, and I was in the last group. I was like in the top 5% of entrants, and I was telling, I was like hitting these like panels like really quickly. I just knew where to find everything. And my friends were talking about, they're like, you're gonna get this job. They're like, that's really cool. And I'm like, yeah, but if I don't get it, I'm gonna just start my own channel. I'm just gonna do my own channel. So, of course, I didn't get the position. I didn't get the job with Morge, and I was like, you know what? That's fine. This is going to be my fuel to like start my own thing. And then in August of that summer, I started the Hidden Island with my first video, and now we're here. Now I'm on stream, and it's like surreal talking to another One Piece YouTuber like this. So long journey, very worth it, very close to my heart. I love One Piece, and I love the One Piece community. So
there we go. So Chin earlier, he said.
I see Morge in the chat. He says you lost though.
Morge is in the chat right now.
He's roasting me. The guy I thought is way better, I bet. He says, "Oh man, don't do this to me. I'm gonna cry on stream."
Oh, I see Morge's. I see his comment now. What's up, Morge?
I'm catching flames out here.
My guy Chid, he said, "Thanks, Hidden Island, for being here." And he asked, "What is your favorite?" And he included Morge in this too in his post. He said, "What's your favorite Randy theory? What's your favorite Morge theory or analysis video?"
Ooh. Okay, so my favorite Randy theory right now has to be the whole thing with the Sulong, the Tamade Bako, all that stuff connecting to what's happening right now with the Nika fruit. That's definitely my favorite theory of yours. It's also fresh in my mind, so like that one I find myself thinking about a lot.
I do like that one.
Yeah, I like that one. I also like the laws and sword theory. I mean, you have great theories, and that's one of the reasons I like your channels because when I come to your videos, you have this very chill atmosphere. Kind of what I wanted to do with my channel was like having a conversation directly with the viewer. That was like a big point on my bullet point on my list of what I wanted for my channel. That's why I like yours. Your theories are very grounded, sensible. They come from a place where like you really clearly understand the story. So like it's hard for me to pick a favorite theory of yours. Same with Morge. Now that you're in the chat, I can tell you, Morge, that your channel is probably the biggest influence on mine out of all the YouTubers. I watched basically all of your videos prior to making my own channel. And yeah, I would say if I had to pick a favorite theory of yours, it would be the smoker joins the Straw Hats theory. I really, really love that idea a lot. I think that I think Smoker deserves something. He deserves a boost in the story. He's been itching for like some way to be relevant.
Morge and I talked about that for a while when he was here.
Yeah, it's a great theory, man. I think it's like perfect to have him come full circle and join. It would be such a great it would be really great for the narrative of One Piece to have a Marine kind of change sides by the end of it. So that's my favorite.
And he will. I just don't think he's going to be an official Straw Hat.
Official Straw Hat, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I do think he has a good potential to join. But yeah, I mean, that would probably be my favorite theory. But once again, it's like what I said for your channel, where like, I really like what you guys do, and it's like it is a big source of inspiration for what I do. So it's like really hard for me to just like single out one theory and be like, yeah, this is like better than all the others.
Morge said, wait, way better to have your own channel than find images because that's boring. He did you a favor.
No, honestly, if I could go back and take that test again, I mean, I'd fail it on purpose because I really do enjoy making my videos now, and I didn't realize I'd enjoy it until I actually sat down for your test and was like finding the panels myself, and I was like, this is kind of fun. Like this is good to look back on the story, and then like once I had that experience, it kind of opened my eyes to the One Piece YouTube thing. So like I'm glad. I'm actually glad. I think sometimes things work out for the better, and I still love your channel very much, and it's a continual source of inspiration for mine, and so is yours, Randy. I watch your videos all the time, and for me it's like I'd like to keep it this way. I would do it all over again the same way. So
that's great. Morge said, "Thanks, man. I appreciate hearing that so much," and I appreciate it too, man. It's awesome. This is this is a good one. Morge said, "Yeah, Smoker. All right, cool. We all agree on that."
Yeah, no, Smoker's dope, man. I see the chat popping off too. I love this.
Oh yeah.
I love
the chat's hilarious right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. No, this was fun, and I think I am gonna wrap things up here because I like to keep these theory for theories a little tighter because I do make VODs for them on the main, or at least I take segments of them. But lately, I've just been reposting the whole thing. And yeah, there was a lot of great stuff in this, and we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely. I would love to do this again. We have so much more to talk about, I'm sure. Yeah. So like,
and feel free, I can come over to your channel and stuff as well. let's see. Yeah, I think the most mind blowing thing to come out of this for me was your Hiyori thought. That Hiyori is the big death of Wano, and I was like, you had some good justification for it. I was because that was easily the first time I've ever heard that.
I will raise you your Sabo kidnaps Vivi from the Reverie. I think that is like my favorite idea today. Like, I'm gonna be thinking about that, dude. Like after this stream, I'm gonna like.
It's like my oldest theory too.
That's a great one. That's a good one. You gotta hold on to those old theories, man.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I still believe it. You know, that's just, you know, or Sai and Leo. Somebody that has a Viva card is with Vivi right now. That's
sure.
That's the that's the thing, and I can't wait to get them back. And Mort said, "Peace, guys. We'll watch this later, though."
Yeah, I'll see you, Morge. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Later, my guy. And then Parvision said, "Wait till Randy sees our bingo board." What?
Yeah, so when I did a stream with Parvision 2 weeks ago, like I mentioned, and on that stream we did a bingo board of our predictions for 2022, like One Piece. I think I actually brought this idea up to you when I reached back out to you a few months ago.
I remember that. Yeah,
I had this, like, I really wanted to do this, so like I couldn't hold it in anymore. We're already like getting to like the 5th month of 2022. I was like, you know what? Let's just do this bingo board. So we sit down, we do the bingo board, and we had some crazy ideas on there. The Hiyori dies idea is on that bingo board. So just putting it out there. If you guys like that idea, there's more on that board that are. There's a bunch of crazy.
I want to say, all right, you know, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
That's just one of many that we cooked up. So
yeah.
All right, man.
All right, so so we're gonna wrap things up here, guys. Follow, sub to the Hidden Island. Check out Parvision as well. He's in the chat, and check out Mr. Morge. He's another small YouTuber that's on the rise. And
crazy theory out there right now. Thomas Teapot is Odin, guys.
Yep.
he's making waves right now. I'm sorry, Morge. I gotta throw some fire back at you. I'm sorry, man. I just got.
Boombuku's joining the crew. He was in that. Boombuku was in a color spread too, guys.
Yeah, guys, come on.
He was in a color spread with Tama. He's coming with Tama.
Read between the lines.
No. No. Let's see. What else? Stay tuned. I'm really trying this week to get out the Joy Boy, wasn't human theory, and as long as I can edit it. My goal is Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. I just don't want to get it eaten up by the chat. This is going to be a big theory, guys. So if you see this one, share it around. And thanks everybody for being here. And again, check out the Hidden Island.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks everybody for being here. And man, 10:48 next Friday.
Next Friday, guys. Next Friday. Keep an eye out. We're definitely going to be. I'll be talking about that probably on stream myself when that drops. Got a new video dropping in a couple days too. So exciting stuff, guys. Randy, thank you for having me on the stream. It was a pleasure.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.